Hi everyone, this is John from WashingtonStateDrivingTest.com, which is a website where we provide online training courses to help you prepare and pass the Washington State Driving Test. And in today's video, we're going to talk about parallel parking, and we're going to focus on parallel parking between 4 poles, because that's the easiest way to do it on your driving test. So first of all, the Department of Licensing allows one of 3 different methods for testing parallel parking on your driving test. And depending on where you go to take your test, different locations use a different method. Now the first method is parallel parking between 2 vehicles. That's kind of the classic old school typical parallel parking scenario. You've got 2 vehicles on the side of the road, there's a space between them, and you have to parallel park between the 2. The second method that you might be tested on, and it's going to be one of these 3 methods, not all of them. So the second possible method is parallel parking behind a single vehicle. So there's only one car on the side of the road. You pull up alongside it and you back into the space, you parallel park, and you pretend that there's another car behind that first car. They'll say, assume you're parking between 2 vehicles, even though there's only one car there. That one can get a little bit confusing. The third way, though, is between 4 poles or cones, or technically they're called stanchions. Parallel parking between 4 poles. I'm going to say poles because that's easier to understand and easier to say. And the best tip I can give you about parallel parking, find a testing location where they do their parallel parking between 4 poles and not between real cars, for a number of reasons. Number one, it's stressful to park behind real vehicles. I mean, what if you hit one, you damage some stranger's car? Nobody wants that. It's a big hassle. Parking between 4 poles is psychologically a lot easier, because if you tap a pole or run over a pole, hit a pole, it's not going to cause any damage in most cases. It's really not a big deal. So it's a lot less stressful to do parallel parking between 4 poles. But also, the scoring is different. See, when you're parallel parking with real vehicles, if you hit one of the other cars, it's an automatic failure. Your test is over. You go back to the testing location with your head hung in shame, afraid to face your friends and family because you hit a car on parallel parking like a knucklehead. You want to avoid that situation entirely. When you're parallel parking between 4 poles, it's just a point deduction if you hit a pole. You lose 4 points, right? You need 80 points to pass out of 100 to pass your driving test. So if you hit one of the poles when you're parallel parking between 4 poles, it's not going to be an automatic failure. It's just going to be a point deduction. And so now I'm going to show you some clips from the premium course. So this is actual footage from the WashingtonStateDrivingTest.com premium course that helps you prepare for the driving test. This is from the parallel parking lesson, talking about parking between 4 poles. I'm going to give you some tips here to help you out with that. Here's a demonstration of parallel parking between 4 poles. So I'm going to get in position in front of the poles. Then before I start driving backwards, I'm going to turn around and look out the rear window. I'll look out my side window a couple times just to make sure I'm not going to hit a cone. I'm going to center myself in the lane and wait for instructions. The examiner will say re-enter traffic. So I'm going to drive backwards just a little bit, give myself some room to get out. And then I'm going to look over my shoulder, check my blind spot with my turn signal on, and exit the cones. So how do you find out which location does parallel parking testing using 4 poles? The answer is really simple. You just drive by. You could probably call them, send them an email, but really I'd recommend just driving by, checking out their parking lot. You'll usually see 4 poles set up somewhere in the parking lot. Usually it's going to be off to the side or maybe the back of the building, somewhere that's far away from the entrance and away from all the foot and vehicle traffic. But don't just find the location, where they use 4 poles for parallel parking. You can also go practice there. If they've got it set up in a public parking lot and they don't have any signs that say students only or whatever, then you can go there and you can practice on that, as long as you're not getting in the way of somebody trying to take the test. So my advice to you, do a little research into the place where you're going to take your driving test. Drive by, figure out how they do parallel parking. Use their parallel parking setup for your own practice and go from there. And I think that by doing that, that's going to help make parallel parking a lot easier for you. A lot of people stress out about parallel parking. It's one of the most stressful things for people on the driving test. This is a way to make it simpler and easier and less stressful. For more tips on how to pass the Washington State driving test, subscribe to our channel. You can also go to our website, WashingtonStateDrivingTest.com, and we've got some articles up there, driving test tips. We also have the free course and the premium course, where you can get in-depth instruction, in-depth test prep for the behind-the-wheel test in Washington State. Once again, I'm John from WashingtonStateDrivingTest.com. Thanks for watching this video, and we'll see you out there on the road. Drive safely. Good luck on your test.